What? In the doghouse if you keep bugging me, 'cause I'm sick, and I'll tell Mom if you don't let me watch TV.
What's wrong with you?
I got a headache and a stomachache.
Then why aren't you in bed?
'Cause I want to watch my cowboy show.
You look alright to me.
I'm not faking. I couldn't go to school because I'm sick. Daddy's sick in bed too, and Mom believes me anyway. So shut up.
Have you noticed that your show is in black and white?
What else? Color? On a TV?
Well, I think I've seen a colored television before.
Have not. Quit it or I'm gonna tell.
Hey, look at that! Your mother lets you watch this stuff?
Sure. This is part of history. What made America great. And besides, blood and guts are neato. Well, you can't stop me, so let me alone. Or else.
Have you noticed that your show is in
What else?
Well,
Have not.
Hey, look at that!
Sure. What made America? And besides, I'm glad you're catching on, Steve. You're not too bad for a lousy rat.
Okay, why not just tell me where I am?
'Cause that's a dumb question. And you're not fooling me with that magnesia stuff.
Amnesia, you mean? Alright, fine. But will you at least tell me what school you go to?
The same school everyone in Harvest graduates from. One way or another.
I don't understand.
You're not supposed to. Yet.
Your dad is asleep?
He and Mom went at it last night pretty hard. He stayed in bed. I saw what she did to him. It was pretty bad.
What did she...
Like you don't know. I saw you and her on the couch last Wednesday night. Guess that's why she's grounded now, huh? Too bad you wouldn't pay me and I had to tell, huh?
What are you talking about? What girl?
What? Is there another one too? Wait till I tell.
I don't know what girl you're talking about.
All summer, it's been Stephanie this and Stephanie that. And now you don't remember? You think I'm dumb or something?
No, I just can't remember anything, like I said.
Well, you better remember quick, 'cause the wedding's in 2 weeks.
What?
Leave me alone so I can watch TV.
That's a weird-looking television. Come to think of it, this whole place looks totally retro.
What do you mean, retro? All TVs look alike.
Sure, basically. But this is one old-fashioned clunker.
Old-fashioned? It's brand new.
Yeah, but look at the tube. Where's the remote control?
What's that?
Now that I think about it, I can't remember.
And what was that you said about retro rockets?
No, retro. It means... Oh man, I know what I mean. That everything here is wrong. But I can't picture the difference.
Then shut up and quit bugging me. I'm watching my cowboy show. I said I don't want to talk about her anymore. Good. Finally. Leave me alone, will ya? This is the good part. Good. Finally.
Well, hello there. How about some cookies? There's plenty of rejects in the trash.
Who are you?
That's a fine way to talk to your mother.
You're my mother?
That's right. Though sometimes I get treated like the hired help around here.
I don't remember you.
Of course you don't. Until you need your socks washed.
No, you don't understand. I can't remember where I am or even who I am.
Land's sake, stop your joshing, won't you? Honestly, Steve, I thought you'd grow up a little after graduation. I only hope that new job will plant your feet on the ground.
So that's my name. Steve.
Your name will be M.U.D. Mud if you don't stop teasing me, young man.
Listen, this may sound strange, but I've lost my memory. Do you believe me?
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
I'm serious.
Sure, and next you'll be telling me you don't remember Hank and your little sister.
Sister?
Shh, you'll wake her. I just put her down to sleep. If she wakes up, she'll just want to eat again. Darn it, I'm busy, and if you think I'm going to play along with this nonsense, you're crazier than Sparky down at the firehouse.
Fine. Maybe I am crazy. I can't rule that out. Why can't you just help me a little? Is that too much to ask?
Now you've done it. Are you happy? Poor baby. There. Did your brother scare you? Let me see. Darn that wasp woman. She's a monster, that's what she is.
Wasp woman?
Tetsuya Crumb is going to hear about this. I want you to go to her house right now and give her a piece of my mind.
I don't know where she lives.
Honestly, you can't miss a house covered with paper nests. Steve, you tell her to mind her own beeswax, or by golly, I'll take it up with the PTA. Or the lodge.
What's the PTA got to do with anything?
Show some respect, Steve. The PTA has a lot of clout in Harvest. We run the charity bake sale, the annual blood drive, and by gosh, we even have ties to the lodge.
What charity is this bake sale supposed to benefit?
It'll help provide a fund for bums and hobos who wander into Harvest and have no family ties.
Kind of a specific target group, isn't it?
You have to pay attention to detail when dealing with such people.
I don't know what you mean.
You will. The whole thing has been organized by the lodge.
Tell me more about this bake sale. Why is it so important?
As I told you, many unfortunates who come to Harvest end up needing financial help.
Why is that the town's problem?
It's not a problem, so long as those folks are taken care of. It's the will of the lodge.
What lodge?
The Hall of the Order of the Harvest Moon, Steve. It's just the finest place in Harvest, and the most exclusive.
What's so great about it?
Hard to say, since hardly anyone gets inside. But it wouldn't be so exclusive if it wasn't just wonderful. Just like the new Reynolds dishwasher with their patented auto-dry process, TM. I've never used one, but I know I want it. Instead of sulking around the house all day, why not walk over to the lodge and apply for membership? Don't be so hasty, Steve. I think you'll find Harvest is a pretty dull place without the lodge.
You sound like the membership director.
Don't be silly. I just want what's best for you, that's all. Harvest is a town unlike any you've ever known.
In what way?
I don't have time to go into it now. Why not take a walk around town and pester someone else? I'm busy.
Hank, that kid over by the television?
Your little brother is homesick from school today, and I won't have you scaring him with this amnesia poop.
Is he really sick?
Look at that show he's watching. Wouldn't you say he's sick? I'd make him stop, but oh, I'm so busy baking cookies for the Harvest PTA Charity Bake Sale. It's on Friday, you know. I hope you're still planning on going.
I don't know. I need to think.
Honestly, skipping out of a charity affair. What's gotten into you?
I don't know, damn it! That's what I'm telling you!
Don't you dare use that language around me. You're lucky your father didn't hear you. Or Stephanie, for that matter. How do you think she'd feel knowing her fiancé was a guttermouth?
Fiancé? This is insane!
Oh, you're not having second thoughts about marrying Stephanie. Is that what this silliness is all about? Pre-wedding jitters?
Can something like that produce amnesia?
Stop this foolishness right now and count your blessings. Stephanie is great at cooking and cleaning.
What's cooking and cleaning got to do with anything?
Honestly, boys are so dense. What else is there for a wife but cooking and cleaning? You may not appreciate a hot meal on a clean plate when it's there, but if it wasn't, we'd hear about it soon enough, I'll bet.
You're saying that's all there is to marriage? Cooking and cleaning?
Well, you'll have to ask your father about that, but I'm sure Stephanie will do her duty when the time comes. Bless your innocence, but there are certain disgusting truths that go along with marriage. Facts that can't be disguised by sheets which wrap around the contours of flexing go-go's and bouncing legs. You can't know what I'm talking about, and that's best. When the time comes to make a baby with Stephanie, you'll have to make your peace with the fact that when a farmer plants his seed, he can't help but get some nasty dirt on his hoe.
And just who is Stephanie?
Don't you dare toy with that sweet girl. If you start in on her with all this amnesia poop, she'll think her fiancé is having second thoughts about the wedding.
Look, all this talk about weddings is nuts. I'm not marrying anybody till I figure out what's going on here.
First the heartbreak of psoriasis, and now this. 2 weeks before the wedding and you're backing out. Whatever will the neighbors think?
I can't marry someone I don't even know.
Fine, have it your way, but leave me out of it. If you're going to break Stephanie's heart, you march right next door and do it yourself. And don't expect me to write you a note.
My father.
He's in the other room. He decided to sleep in today. Now please let me get back to my cookies.
Annual blood drive, huh?
If you knew how much blood we get, you'd be more impressed. Donations are mandatory, Steve. If you're still here come Sunday, you'll be expected to give.
Until it hurts, I suppose.
Until it hurts. Even Hank will have to donate. Of course, lodge members are exempt. Remember that.
Hey, either way, no one's sticking me with the needle.
We don't use needles.
The bake sale is on Friday, and yet you're baking the cookies now.
Never put off till tomorrow what you can do today.
But they'll be stale by then.
That's why I'm throwing them away.
And then cooking more?
To replace the ones I throw out.
Why?
Well, I have to. No one's going to pay to eat stale cookies out of the garbage can.
But you expect me to.
Of course not, Steve. I wouldn't charge you. I'm your mother. Help yourself.
What charity is this?
It'll help provide a fund.
Kind of a specific...
You have to...
I don't...
You will.
Tell me more.
As I...
Why is that?
It's not... Don't forget to put the papers out for Jimmy. You know how he gets.
Hey, Steve, I'm Jimmy James. Remember me?
I guess not.
There now. See how easy it is? Things are so much better between us when you remember the paper in the morning. And let's keep them that way. See you later, alligator.
he is, my future son-in-law. And how's he doing today? What brings him to the Potsdam household, huh? Huh? What a card.
Would I kid about something like that? Why won't you believe me?
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve. Your mother just telephoned us about your latest shenanigans. Isn't that right, Mrs. Potsdam?
Sure did, Mr. Potsdam. You little rascal.
Imagination's a swell thing to have, in small amounts. Man needs to keep his feet on the ground, especially if he's getting married. Tell me, is your father feeling better? Is he going back to the slaughterhouse anytime soon?
This is sick. I'm supposed to marry this Stephanie and I don't even know who she is.
Now look, Steve, a joke is all well and good, but don't go scaring me like that.
I'm not joking.
Now look, a commitment is a commitment. You're going to marry my daughter. We'll be one happy family, and your dad's going to give me all the meat I want. Right? Right?
Marriage is a pretty big commitment, especially to a stranger.
Commitment's part of life, son. Every vacuum cleaner salesman knows that. Once you're in, there's no way out. When the Sentinel building burned down, business dropped off. We had no more newspaper to advertise in. So what did I do? I went selling door to door because I was committed. Door after door slammed into my face, but I couldn't stop because I was committed. And why do I keep applying to the lodge when every month they turn me down? Commitment! I went into the wrong business, you see. If business falls off, you can't eat vacuum cleaners. Not like meat. If you're surrounded by meat, you can't lose. You can eat it. Lovely, wet meat. That fire disrupted the whole town. 6 months later, we still don't have a newspaper. All you have for excitement now, if you can't get into the lodge, is mail and the TV. You might ask Postmaster Boyle about the fire, or the sheriff. That's all I can say.
Tell me about this wedding.
Well, it looks like we're going to have to hold the wedding down at the funeral parlor, since I'm not a member of the lodge. Mr. Moynihan has given his okay, and your father is going to cater the affair with plenty of meat. Moynihan is the undertaker. He also runs the Wayward Hotel. Since he's providing the space for the wedding, you might stop by and say hello to him, just to be sociable. But whatever you do, be sure to say hi to your father for me. Will you do that? Tell him hi, and remind him of the meat.
I haven't seen my father. He's locked in a room. I hear him moaning, but that's all.
He's not going to die, is he?
Like I said, I don't know. That woman, Mom, tends to him herself.
Well, next time you see him, be sure to tell him that I said hello, and tell him that I'm praying for his speedy recovery. And also, would you remind him about the meat? Especially about the meat.
Yeah, fine. If I see him.
You should be more concerned. If he dies, then who's going to take over the slaughterhouse? Who's going to tend to the meat? I guess as his son, you'd take over. Right? Meat is the foundation of any decent society. Everyone needs at least 3 servings of red meat a day. And anyone who says otherwise is a commie. And once you're married to Stephanie, I'll be part of the family too. And your father will give me all the meat I want. Kinda makes up for not getting into the lodge. Meat is the foundation of any decent society. I can't imagine a better job than working in a slaughterhouse. Sure, it'd be just dandy, and you can't argue with success. Everyone in Harvest gets their meat from your dad. What a grand business to go into. Oh, sure, cutting animals open may not be much fun. Reaching into their bodies and yanking out the bloody guts, intestines dangling and slapping against you, the smell of death and shit in your nostrils all the time. Well, those are all definite cons. But which are done? The guts have been washed into the gutters. What are you left with? Meat. Rows and rows of scrumptious red meat. Meat is the foundation of any decent society.
Why are you so anxious to get into the lodge?
There's wonders inside. I've heard there's more meat in there than they know what to do with. Now that you're of age, Steve, you might go down to the post office and fill out a lodge application. They're always looking for new blood. Well, don't look at me. Mrs. Potsdam wants Stephanie to study hard for her finals. If it was up to me, you could go straight upstairs, but you know, the little woman, you'll have to ask her permission to see Stephanie. Sorry, Steve. The last thing I want to do is upset you and your father before the wedding. Not with the meat at stake. You will remind your dad about the meat, won't you? Mrs. Potsdam grounded Stephanie, so you'd better go ask her permission before you go upstairs. Sorry, Steve. The last thing I want to do is upset you and your father before the wedding. Not with the meat at stake. You will remind your dad about the meat, won't you? If it isn't my favorite son-in-law, what brings you here again?
Hello, Steve. Have you flossed today? Well, Stephanie is grounded, Steve.
Why?
I'm sure I don't know. Mr. Potsdam has sent her to her room, and in her room she'll stay until Mr. Potsdam says otherwise. Probably until the wedding.
Tell me about this wedding.
Well, it's set for 3 weeks. We're holding it over at Shady Oaks, Mr. Moynihan's funeral parlor.
Say what?
Now, I know it's not a very romantic place, but there's nowhere else to hold it, thanks to Mr. Potsdam. Mr. Moynihan runs the Wayward Hotel and the Shady Oaks funeral parlor. It's rumored he has connections with the lodge, but the order keeps that kind of thing secret. So Mr. Potsdam has tried to get him to put in a good word for his lodge application, but so far... You mustn't be too hard on Mr. Potsdam, Steve. He's a disappointed man. No matter how many lodge admission forms he fills out, they keep turning him down. He has a new application in, though, so keep your fingers crossed. If he joins the lodge, you and Stephanie can have your wedding in the Chapel of Love rather than over at Moynihan's place.
Tell me about this wedding.
Well, it's...
Say what?
You mustn't be too hard on Mr. Potsdam, Steve. He's a disappointed man. No matter how many...
What can you tell me about the lodge?
Just that they're exclusive and secretive. If you're curious,
You ought to pick up a lodge application at the post office and take it over to the sergeant-at-arms. Isn't that a thought? Forget Mr. Potsdam. If you became a member of the order, we could hold the wedding inside the lodge. My, wouldn't that be lovely? Give my regards to your parents. Hello, dear. Come to see Stephanie, have you? She's upstairs. Go right on up. Just remember, she's grounded until the wedding. Mr. Potsdam feels there's too much at stake to allow Stephanie to run around loose.
She doesn't want to get married either, huh?
Are you saying you don't want to marry my daughter?
I don't know your daughter, Mrs. Potsdam. Why is she grounded? Afraid she'll run away before the wedding?
No! She's as delighted as we are about the wedding, every bit as delighted as we are. But she might get hit by a car, or a falling piano, or who knows what. Mr. Potsdam wants us all to be one happy family, and he doesn't want to risk anything happening at the last minute. Not a chance, Steve. Mr. Potsdam wouldn't like it. If you'd like to see her, it's fine with me. Go upstairs and turn right. Now excuse me, I'm trying to get ready for the bake sale.
This charity bake sale, what is it supposed to benefit?
Oh, I just like talking about gruesome subjects. When you get right down to it, all charity is pretty ugly, isn't it?
I don't follow.
Ask Mr. Moynihan. He's organized this event. In conjunction with the lodge, naturally. Give my regards to your parents.
Who are you? What are you doing in my room?
Haven't you heard? We're getting married.
So, you're the one. Steve, isn't it?
You mean you don't know me?
I mean, I don't know anyone. I don't remember anything. How many times do I have to say it?
Just one, Stephanie, because I can't remember a damn thing either.
Really? Oh God, I thought it was just me.
You're not alone. Can you tell me what's going on here?
Those people downstairs have locked me in my room. They say I'm grounded until the wedding. Maybe my amnesia isn't total after all. You're familiar to me. Like we've met before. In another life.
Maybe we really do live here. Maybe we were together, and the same thing happened to both of us. An accident. Something.
Neither of us has bumps on our heads, if that's what you're getting at.
Have you been able to remember anything else? Anything at all?
Well, I have had these recurring dreams. Just fragments, really. Strange, abstract images. Liquid, chrome.
Probably just a dream.
Well, have you thought about how to escape Harvest? They claim to be my parents. I can't dispute it because I can't remember for sure one way or the other, but it doesn't feel right. Do you have any idea where you do belong?
No, but I'm fairly sure I don't belong in Harvest.
Yeah. I can't remember anything, but I feel in my heart that the woman downstairs is not my mother. She's like this thing, like a parody, a bad joke with mother as the punchline. Does that make any sense? I'm glad I'm not the only one who sees it that way. I thought I was going crazy.
Join the club. But we can't both be crazy, Stephanie.
Either way, something really weird is going on here. I've got to escape, and so do you. Because in a way, whether you know it or not, I think we're both grounded. It's been hell. They treat me well, but they won't let me leave this room. Not even to go out in the yard. Not until the wedding.
They won't tell you why?
Each one blames the other for grounding me. They make up different excuses. Different things I did, none of which I remember. So I sit up here, watch the world outside my window, and listen to the noises in the house. Every morning, a weird boy comes to the house and picks up the paper. He doesn't deliver the paper. He picks up scrap paper that Miss Potsdam sets out on the porch for him. Some mornings she forgets, and the boy gets furious. He gives me the creeps.
Anything else you can tell me?
I hear these weird scraping sounds in the bathroom sometimes. Like something is sliding along the wall. Claws, maybe. And Mr. Potsdam. I don't like the way my dear daddy looks at me. Both of them are always watching me. But especially him.
You don't think they're dangerous, do you?
I think this whole place is dangerous. I think we've got to escape. Before it's too late.
Escape?
Harvest is a prison, Steve. Don't forget that. Of course I'm right.
Escape?
Harvest is a prison, Steve. Don't forget that. You haven't been locked in your room for a week. Everything in Harvest seems to revolve around this damned lodge, this Order of the Harvest Moon. They're responsible for this insane bake sale that's coming, and for the Harvest Blood Drive, too. When people talk about the lodge, it's always in this hushed, reverent tone. Mom keeps telling me that women can't join, but she keeps pressuring me to get you to join.
She's not the only one who wants me to sign on with the lodge.
That's probably the worst thing you could do.
You think the lodge is some kind of trap?
I think all of Harvest is a trap.
If that's true, maybe joining the lodge is the way out.
Look, why not explore the town a little? I can't get out of here, but if I could, that's what I'd do. Maybe you can figure out what's happening here without going anywhere near the lodge.
You're really afraid of the lodge, aren't you?
I look at that building, all lit up at night, and I get scared.
I mean, look at the damn thing. Seem like a harmless bunch of Masons to you?
Maybe my amnesia isn't total after all.
Maybe.
Neither of us.
Have you been?
Well,
Probably just a dream.
the wedding is only 3 weeks away. Not much time to get to know each other, is it? Thanks. But I wouldn't marry anyone with things, as they are.
Yeah, well, they can't force us to go through with it. If it comes down to it, we just won't take the vows.
I don't think anything in Harvest is that simple. Too many people are determined that we get hitched.
Why?
Potsdam wants the meat your father promised him. Your parents want to force you to settle down. Mrs. Potsdam wants to have the wedding in the lodge. Me? I just want to escape. They claim to be my parents. I believe you. Maybe some of these people believe you too. Maybe they're playing dumb.
Why?
Maybe they're responsible. Either way, something really weird is going on here. I've got to escape, and so do you. Because in a way, whether you know it or not, I think we're both grounded. The wedding is only 3 weeks away. Not much time to get to know each other, is it? No?
If it comes down to it, we just won't take the vows.
I don't think anything in Harvest is that simple. Too many people are determined that we get hitched.
Why?
Potsdam wants the meat your father promised him. Your parents want to force you to settle down. Mrs. Potsdam wants to have the wedding in the lodge. Me? I just want to escape. You're not making sense. You're not making sense. Come back and visit me soon, okay?
It's not often that I get visitors.
Are you the wasp woman?
I am Tetsuo Crumb. The ignorant of Harvest called me the wasp woman. A pejorative, no doubt, born of fear and a poverty of imagination.
I don't understand.
The politics of honey, the Judeo-Christian rites of sacrifice and conventional taboos against unbridled pleasure are all responsible for the prejudice against wasps. When a bee stings, it rips itself apart and dies for its audacity. This appeals to those raised worshipping a god that demands sacrifice and atonement. But the wasp is promiscuous. They are not as sympathetic to the masses, because they don't die when they sting. They live to sting another day, and they take pleasure from it. Yes, a great deal of pleasure. The wasp is a sensual being, not a laborer, hedonistic instead of industrial. Some think them quick to anger. In truth, they are easily swayed to ecstasy. They penetrate your flesh, and the muscular contractions in their thorax as they pump venom could be likened to the muscular contractions of ejaculation, each painful welt, an act of love. Regard the wasp. Wasps produce nothing for others, but only for themselves. Wasps build nests and more wasps, nothing more. They spread into eaves and attics, not to make honey for supermarkets, but to buzz and rustle on their own paper, perpetuating their own agenda, growing stealthily, surely. The most relentless of insects. You should cultivate an appreciation for the grotesque, or you won't go far in this life. Regard the wasp, the most relentless of insects. Innocent children, what better way to describe the wasp? Carefree, wild, beautiful things. If they wish to share their love with babies, or any of the rest of you ignorant hicks, that is not my concern. The politics of honey are intertwined with the age-old struggle of the aesthetic versus the commercial. Because I choose to raise wasps instead of bees, I'm frowned upon by the community. Why? Well, raising bees is acceptable because they produce honey. But sometimes it's not what is produced, so much as what is performed.
I don't see any particular use for wasps.
Why must everything have a use? Is money always the determining factor? More slender, more aerodynamic than the bee, the wasp is a joy to behold. Beautiful and juicy. Isn't that enough to compensate for the little drawbacks? Well, as you can see, the little darlings do love to sting. Another source of prejudice for the masses, and another reason to love them. Bees are like animals. They sting only for a reason, for sacrifice. They have no conception of individual sensation, of pleasure. A triviality.
Hello, Steve. How's the husband-to-be?
Other than having no memory, I guess I'm all right.
All right? You should be ecstatic, considering what you're getting into, if you haven't gotten into it already. Speaking of which, I heard Stephanie was grounded. Her daddy's worried about getting his meat. Though if I were him, I'd be more concerned about Stephanie getting some meat.
Right. And you are?
You always were a kidder, Steve. I'm Mr. Johnson, remember? Glad you stopped by. Just got finished waxing the Tucker. I could use a little relaxation. But since Edna's not here, I might as well talk to you. Edna Fitzpatrick is one of the snootiest women in town. I declare there isn't a woman in Harvest that turned me away. If I was interested, that is. Just because she owns DNAs, she's got all these highfalutin ideas about independence, and her with a little girl to raise. That child needs a father. And Edna, well, she needs a good, hard penis.
What makes you so sure she needs a penis?
You saying Edna's getting it from someone else? Like maybe that damn Sheriff Dwayne? He's over at DNA's diner every day from noon to 1, eating his dadgum pie. And I got a feeling he'd like Edna for dessert. Sure, it's the only diner in town, but I'm sure he's got more on his mind than food. I'll admit DNA's diner does good business. But money isn't everything to a woman. Can money keep you warm at night? Can you wrap your thighs around it? Or rake bloody gashes in its back with your painted hollowed fingernails? Edna! Edna! So, how's Stephanie? Speaking of Stephanie, I still haven't gotten an invitation to the wedding yet.
I don't have anything to do with that.
That's okay. Personally, I'd prefer a pass to the honeymoon. You could use the back seat of my Tucker for the maiden voyage. It's plenty big, believe you me. I'd drive you around, and I wouldn't look in the back seat, I guarantee it. Though if you'd like to come up front and take the wheel a while, I wouldn't say nay. Heck of an automobile, isn't she? Damn shame I have to sit out here and watch over her all the time. But if I didn't, those stupid kids might scratch her up playing ball. Hell yes, it's real. I wouldn't be so protective of her if she was just a reproduction. I'm mighty particular about my Tucker. I had the garage remodeled like a fortress, so I could lock her up at night and get some sleep.
I'm sure she's safe enough inside.
A few months back, someone broke into my house, trying to get into the garage. I had to gripe like hell before the sheriff agreed to start the evening patrols and instigate the curfew. Heck of an automobile, isn't she? Damn shame I have to sit out here and watch over her all the time. But if I didn't, those stupid kids might scratch her up playing ball. Don't see why not, but don't touch her. I'm mighty particular about my Tucker. I had the garage remodeled like a fortress, so I could lock her up at night and get some sleep.
I'm sure she's safe enough inside.
A few months back, someone broke into my house, trying to get into the garage. I had to gripe like hell before the sheriff agreed to start the evening patrols and instigate the curfew. Karen's only 5 years old. Since Mr. Fitzpatrick passed away, in Edna's arms and legs, I might add, Edna's been raising Karen on her own. What a shame. To deprive a little girl of a positive male role model, and her mama of a fine, stiff penis. Bye now.
Stephen.
Who are you?
I am Daniel Moynihan, mortician and proprietor of the Wayward Hotel.
Most people ask me why I don't remember their names.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve. Besides, as one who deals with the dead, I try not to involve myself in the affairs of the living. Your loss of memory is of no concern to me, true or false. Ironic, considering my recent involvement in a charity event.
What are you talking about?
My complaints were central to the scheduling of the upcoming Harvest Bake Sale. I'm gratified the Order of the Harvest Moon got involved. The proceeds will certainly help cover my losses. It seems that, like some elephant's graveyard, people of low station come to harvest to die. They simply drop dead, penniless, and they all need burials. God knows, by putting these people up at the Wayward Hotel, I do more than my fair share. So why must I pay for the coffins and burial materials as well? My losses to the dead are substantial. Hopefully the bake sale will offset some of them. Yes, I prepare them. I use this astro glue to close my autopsy incision rather than sutures. It's much faster, more efficient. Of course, it only holds for a short while, but once they're in the ground, who cares if they split open? They will anyway. The pressure of the gases and the worms pressing outward, rupturing the cavity open. So why bother with fancy needlework?
A cold-blooded approach.
But what of my losses? Do you realize if it weren't for the efforts of the Order of the Harvest Moon, the bake sale and so forth, even with the Wayward Hotel, I'd be hard-pressed to stay in business. It seems that God... Yes, I prepare them.
A cold-blooded approach.
But what... As always, the Order of the Harvest Moon has taken the lead in addressing our societal ills. Through their sponsorship of the blood drive and the bake sale, the Lodge ensures that all our needs are met.
Needs? Such as...
Pardon me, there are corpses to prepare. And my losses have been substantial of late. If you're sincerely interested in the Order, however, you should stop by the Lodge and speak with the Sergeant-at-Arms.
Why should I be interested, Mr. Moynihan?
Of all the spots in Harvest, the Lodge is the most prominent, literally and figuratively. It is the ambition of everyone here to join. And join you must to attain wisdom.
What kind of wisdom?
If I knew, I'd be a member. I have the feeling you have what it takes to join the Order, Stephen. We all believe that. Whether or not you live up to your potential is up to you. This bake sale is a joint effort of the Harvest PTA and the Order of the Harvest Moon. The proceeds will be used to set up a fund for transients. In other words, bums and societal rejects without families who wander into Harvest uninvited.
Then the Order is setting up shelters for the homeless?
Not shelters. Graves. You see, a great number of these hobos die while passing through. Don't ask me why, it's what those people do. Use your common sense, Stephen, memory or no. If they were involved in setting up homeless shelters, then why would I be involved? And why would I be sustaining losses? You're spouting gibberish. As owner of the only hotel in town, I do my best to accommodate any hobo who straggles into town, vacancies permitting. I really don't recall. We get so many low-life dregs passing through here, I can't remember every little death that occurs.
Huh. Are there that many?
As I said, sliced open on a mortician's slab, every corpse looks the same. Red and juicy.
But surely you'd remember if these deaths were an unusual occurrence.
You sound like you're launching some sort of investigation, Stephen. That would be most unwise. As owner of the only hotel in town, I do my best to accommodate any hobo who straggles into town, vacancies permitting. Thank you. As yet another pilgrim who aspires to join the Order of the Harvest Moon, I do what I can to support their agenda.
And what agenda is that?
None of your concern, young man. Unless you decide to join them. I'd say it's been a pleasure, but I find the company of the living so wearisome.
Oh, man. Strange how there's a correlation between the bums who've died and the bums you've put up at your hotel.
I'm not a statistician.
Neither am I, but I can tell you, the odds against that ain't so good.
Hey, you may be right. A curious thing to do, snooping around old ledgers. You're an odd and resourceful young fellow. How little you understand us.
Us?
A slip of the tongue. We are discussing my alleged penchant for murder. Tell me, why would I kill these people only to bury them at a loss?
I'll ask the questions. Or the sheriff will.
Be sure and tell Dwayne hello for me.
Well, that didn't work.
Please excuse the mess. They've done wonders with the upstairs bedroom, but this garage defies color coordination. Sorry, Steve. After I'm through here, I've got cleaning to do. Rush, rush.
I don't converse on the job, Steve.
Hello, Steve. Welcome to the House of Flame, as we like to call it. Oh, cut it out, Spots, honestly. Once he gets barking, a good piece of meat is the only way to shut him up. There you go, Spot. So, Steve, bet you don't remember me. Heard about that short in the old wiring. I'm Fire Marshal Sparky, head of your fire department. Please, it's not the subject, it's the process. Don't be such a party pooper, Steve. We're talking about art. Besides, we haven't had a fire in Harvest since the newspaper building burned down. Though I'll admit that the Wasp Woman's place is one big accident waiting to happen. Isn't that right, Spots? A dreadful affair. You wouldn't think that a brick and steel building with a sprinkler system could go up that quickly. Art enriches the community, Steve. No less than a pulsing fire hose or a fireman beating down a blazing door. So what if we're drawing a nude man? So what if all we ever draw is a nude man, or the same nude man over and over in all sorts of provocative positions? Context, not content. Process, not subject. Don't be so ghost, Steve. It's beneath you. Some people think all we do is sit around, fetching examples of manhood for our own amusement. Nothing could be further from the truth. Why, just the other day we cited Tetsuo Crumb for fire code violations. All the dried-out paper wasp nests clustered around our wooden house. Why, it's a chemlog just waiting for the right faggot. Believe me, none of us wants to see another fiasco like the Sentinel fire. A dreadful affair. Oh, please. Dwayne was glad enough to see the thing go up, and so was McKnight. If you could get into that safe in his wall... Forget it. Look, Steve, as far as I know, the fire was an accident. Let's just leave it at that. Now don't you go moving. Art enriches the community, Steve. Spots is a dandy watchdog, but like the rest of us, he has one awful vice. None of us can resist a nice cut of meat. Bye-bye.
Don't bother me, I'm sketching. Oh, look what you made me do! Stop it, you're messing me up!
Can't talk now, Steve, I'm inspired. Bye-bye.
I don't converse on the job, Steve.
Sorry, Steve. After I'm through here, I've got cleaning to do. Rush, rush.
That's the evidence room, where we store items lifted from crime scenes. It's kept locked at all times. There's things in there that could make people jump through hoops, if I wanted. Hello, Steve. Let me introduce myself. I'm Sheriff Dwayne, and this here's Loomis.
Pleasure, I reckon.
Then, we haven't met before?
Of course we have. But I heard about your alleged amnesia and figured I'd play along. I sure hope this is just a prank, and not the start of some insanity plea. Keep your nose clean, or you'll wind up in jail, and that's no place to hold a wedding. Why do you want to break your poor mama's heart with all this amnesia bunk?
I'm telling you the truth. Why won't anyone believe me?
Well, you've always been a kidder, Steve.
Yeah, so everybody keeps telling me.
Boy, you need to stop all this funning and get serious. You've got a wedding coming up soon. Heck, you should be thinking about your career and about joining the lodge. Amnesia or no, you can't have forgotten you're about to marry the prettiest little thing in Harvest. I think you and Stephanie are perfect for each other. I just hope her father's disappointment doesn't spoil everything.
Disappointment?
Mr. Potsdam wants to hold the wedding in the lodge, but he'll never get in. Like all the rest, he's always hanging around the post office the first day of the month, waiting for Boyle to bring out that month's lodge applications. And there's always a long line, never enough applications to go around, and even if you do get an application, chances are you're right out of luck. Fewer called to the order and even less accepted. And Potsdam, well, they've turned him down so many times, unless he does something radical, he'll never get in. I don't mind telling you, I'd never get anything done if not for the lodge's efforts. To join the Order of the Harvest Moon is the highest dream of everyone in Harvest. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. When I was a boy, I wanted to join the lodge. I would have too when I grew up, except neither my teacher nor my clergyman helped me. A man can't realize his dreams without help. My failure to gain admission is the failure of all of Harvest, Steve, and don't you forget it. Boy, whether you know it or not, you want to join the lodge. Or you will soon enough, especially with the wedding coming up. Now, that's a place you don't want to wind up, boy. We've got a 3 strikes and you're out rule here in Harvest. You get arrested the 3rd time, you never get out of jail alive. So don't go committing any crimes, boy. Amnesia or no, I'll lock you up pronto. Crime-wise, nothing much has happened in Harvest since the newspaper fire. Oh, sure. Every week or so we get the odd transient dropping dead, but other than that, it gets pretty slow around here. We get a lot of bums, drifters passing through Harvest. Those people are never very healthy to start with. I figure they come to our fair town, look around and decide it's a nice place to die.
You mean they drop dead here on a regular basis?
Like flies. I'd slap 'em all in jail if I could, but there's never enough room. Besides, they're pretty good about not sticking around long. Sure, it's a burden on Mr. Moynihan, though, having to bury them all. I only hope the PTA Lodge bake sale will help out along those lines. Oh, I forgot. You've got amnesia. Mr. Moynihan operates both the Wayward Hotel and the mortuary. Kind of a double burden for the poor man. Transients always wandering in and looking for a place to crash, then croaking.
Maybe it's not a coincidence.
You mean a crime? Oh, no. Moynihan's charity only extends so far. He won't check them in, but he'll sure check them out quick enough. He figures if they can't pay for the room, to hell with them. But if they can't pay for the burial, it's hell for us, what with the smell and all. I guess you can't say too much against Moynihan, what with him letting you hold the wedding in his mortuary chapel and all. Loomis here is my deputy. Without him, I'd have a hard time keeping the peace. or at least taking a lunch break. Mainly Loomis answers the phone and babysits the office while I'm out, though sometimes he likes to go in the back and stain the jail mattress. Isn't that right, Loomis?
Oh, now, Sheriff, what you gotta go and say that for?
Loomis has more than his share of problems. I wouldn't invite him to the wedding. Or, if you do, make sure he doesn't catch the garter. That could be embarrassing.
Oh, I wouldn't do nothing, Dwayne. But I sure would like a little garter that's been around Stephanie's thigh. Oh, well, that'd be right special.
Amnesia or no, you can't have forgotten you're about to marry...
Disappointment?
Mr. Potsdam won't... There's all... I don't mind telling you. Like I said, unless you get an application on the first day of the month, you're generally out of luck. Stop by the post office and talk to Postmaster Boyle. You never know. He might have a spare application laying around. Stop on by any time, Steve. The names in these two books match exactly. Where did you get them?
One comes from Moynihan's hotel, the other from Moynihan's morgue.
So what?
Do I have to spell it out? Moynihan is a murderer.
Poppycock. Hobos and bums just wander into harvest. Sometimes they drop dead. It makes sense that such people would eventually occupy both the hotel and the morgue.
Yeah, but all of them?
Nope. Some blow right through and don't stay at either. Now I'm taking these ledgers and returning them to Mr. Moynihan. As for you, you're under arrest for theft, Steve.
Theft? I just brought you evidence of murder.
Evidence or no, you took these from their rightful owner. That don't get you a citation, son. That gets you a night in the clink.
Oh, man. Okay. Damn it. Well, that didn't work. Okay.
Anything I can help you with? Help yourself. Speaking of which, you're real lucky to be marrying Stephanie. She don't look like a good woman. I just hope she don't turn out like Mrs. Loomis, or mercy forbid Mrs. Phelps. Good women can be awful hard on a man's needs, don't you know? Why, you sure ought to appreciate what a man's got to do sometimes in a parked car or a waist-high knothole in a tree or jail cell at noon. Matter of fact, Mrs. Phelps got no reason not to sell you some of them French postcard girly picture books. If you can get any, and see clear to part with them, bring 'em round when the sheriff's at lunch, and I'd be obliged. Of course, I don't necessarily mean French postcards. That's just what we called them in my day. Any kind of girly picture book, the kind men like, would be just dandy. I'd be right grateful, kiddo, if you were to bring me one. Mrs. Phelps down at the general store don't help things none. She's got them special picture books, the one with the ladies, but she won't sell me none on account of she knows my wife, Mrs. Loomis. Dadgum if that don't burn my britches. If I even ask about 'em, she tells Mrs. Loomis, and I get the broom. Enough to break a man's heart, her burning my French postcards, and me unable to replace 'em. A man's got needs, don't you know? Oh, gosh, I wish I had some of them girly pictures, but Mrs. Loomis won't let me keep 'em in the house. I still remember the time she caught me holding some of them pictures up with one hand. She took the broom to me. I howled like a hound dog, the broom going up and down, flashing straw and blood and straw, and I drooped. I was crying so bad, and it was so hard I had to crawl under the porch naked with all the black winter spiders, and I got bit something fierce, little fangs digging into my bare behind all over. I ask you, is that any way to treat a man? And Mrs. Phelps and the sheriff don't make it no easier neither. If Sheriff Dwayne had a little kindness, he let me get around the little lady by letting me keep some of them picture books here, even if Mrs. Phelps had let me buy one. But see, he won't let me keep none here neither. He don't like me a-getting the jail mattress all marked up, don't you know? Sometimes a man can be good with a gun or a knife, but even so, one-handed and all, he can get a little off in his aim. Ain't no shame in it. That's why the good Lord made evaporation and such. But the sheriff, he don't like it, and don't pay no mind to a man's needs no more than Mrs. Loomis, bless her. Oh, gosh darn, she's purty. Kinda like a gal I seen on some of them French postcards they used to make. Used to be, I'd take them things, go back into jail if nobody was there, and kind of look 'em over one-handed, fold some towels. That was afore Mrs. Loomis. Don't know what you mean, kiddo. Anytime, kiddo.
That's the evidence room. Hello there, Steve. Here for lunch?
No, just here looking around, though I'm not entirely sure where here is.
Oh, I forgot. You're playing your little amnesia prank. Well, boy, this is DNA's Diner. Isn't that right, Edna?
Don't listen to Sheriff Dwayne. This is Edna's Diner. But ever since the E burned out on the sign, they've been giving me a hard time.
Now, don't be like that, Edna. It's a great place to eat, which is good, since it's the only place to eat in Harvest. Stop on by any time, Steve.
Oh, Steve, what are you doing, sneaking up on me like that? God, for a second I thought you were Mr. Johnson. What would you like to order? Sure. And my name's Edna Fitzpatrick. I'm not the one with amnesia.
Then you believe me.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
I guess I've changed. I'm not kidding.
Now, Steve, faking amnesia won't help anything. If you don't want to marry Stephanie, then don't. But don't play sick, for heaven's sake. I'd expect that from Karen, not an 18-year-old. Mr. Johnson has a liking for me. I call it a crush, but that's too innocent a word. He's a bitter man with too much time on his hands. He's never gotten over being rejected by the lodge, and there's something unwholesome in the way he looks at me. I'm always glad when the sheriff comes in every day at noon. The lodge is the repository of all wisdom. You should join the Order of the Harvest Moon, Steve, and soon.
Why? For God's sake, what is it about this place?
The wheat ripens and waits not for the scythe. The farmer who waits too long, it were better that he used the scythe to rip his own stomach out than to stay his scythe when the wheat ripens. The harvest moon wanes, and then comes winter. An empty belly, the body sun's belly, gurgling within or bloody on the ground. What does it benefit a man if he gains his soul and loses the world? You hunger. Feed yourself before it's too late. Oh.
Edna?
Steve. What happened? Were we talking about Boyle? Or was it Karen?
You seemed strange there for a minute.
I'm sorry. I'm under a lot of stress. Running this diner all alone. Forgive me. There isn't a nicer girl in Harvest than Stephanie, Steve. You should be grateful that she's promised you her hand.
I don't remember that happening, Edna.
Honestly, you men are so childish. I don't know what it is about marriage that turns even the bravest man into a coward. I was going to marry Karen's father when he just up and ran out on me one night. I heard that he joined the lodge, but if he did, I never saw him come out again. Even Sheriff Dwayne wasn't able to find out what happened to him. You've met Karen, my 8-year-old. Other than the diner, she's all I have. Stop by anytime, Steve.
Stay tuned, buckaroos. There's more to come on Range Riders Cowboy Roundup. So don't go away. And what's your name, hombre?
Steve.
Steve's a swell name. My dog's name is Steve. Would you like my autograph, Steve? Here you go, then. Violence? What about it? Violence is as American as apple pie and low SAT scores. Where would we be right now if the cowboys hadn't gone out west and butchered innocent people to steal their land? Answer me that, Mr. Know-It-All.
But what about studies that have shown that children become more violent when watching violence?
Buckaroo, I rip the guts out of godless heathen Injuns. Most kids don't see godless heathen Injuns on a regular basis, and if they do, they better either get their eyes checked or do like old Range Rider and shoot the bejesus out of them, lest they want to go untreated for psychotic hallucinations, or wind up with their scalps hanging from a buckskin belt. Oh, shit! Ow! Shit on a stickaroo! The parents that are griping about violence on TV are the same parents that go outside in the morning to fetch their papers, secure in the knowledge that they won't get an arrow through the noodle because the violence they hate so much done cleared the Injuns out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, civilization has benefited from violence. But should violence be treated as entertainment?
Check my rating, son. Violence is entertainment. I just put it on the air. If some kid watches, that says something about the kid, not me. Now, excuse me, we're going back on the air. Can't talk now, Buckaroo. We're on in just a sec. Violence? What about it? What red-blooded American doesn't? Nothing like an exploding head to get the blood pumping. Literally, that is.
Even so, do you think society pays a heavy price for the violence in the media?
Of course they pay a heavy price. Just look at the net profits. They'll line up around the block to see a good slaughter. Now, excuse me, we're going back on the air.
Hey, Sport. This is a private office.
Yeah, I know, Mr.
McKnight. I own and operate this station. Have you brought me some news for tonight's broadcast, or...
I've lost my memory. That's news.
The hell it is! You always were a kidder, Steve. Any real news to tell me?
Actually, I was just wanting to know more about the TV station.
Hey, WHAR is the only television station in Harvest. Since the old Sentinel went under, what with the newspaper building burning down and all, we're golden. Nobody competes with us, Sport. Hey now, Sport, that's an irresponsible allegation. I had nothing to do with that fire. Just because WHAR may have benefited from it and I danced on the ashes a little, doesn't mean I torched the place. You can ask Sheriff Dwayne if you have any doubts.
You seem awfully touchy on the subject, Sport.
I'm touchy when people try to muscle their way into my business. I'd appreciate it if you'd leave my office and don't come back. Now that's interesting. The ledger to the hotel matched the ledger to the mortuary. Looks like the checkout time at the Wayward Hotel is right away. Do not disturb sign notwithstanding. Thanks for the tip-off, Sport. I'll run it on tonight's broadcast.
Steve, good of you to drop by, big guy. Haven't seen you since graduation. A lot of changes, I hear.
You could say that.
Good, good. That's a nice part of my job, turning fine young men and women out into the world, and then watching them prosper. Of course, I was able to reach more people at the old Sentinel, God bless her. But then again, I never got to see the results of my work up close before.
Who are you?
You know very well I'm Mr. Harold, the principal of Gain Memorial. Steve, I've heard about this amnesia nonsense. I had hoped you'd be in the lodge by now, fine young fellow like yourself. But now, I think maybe you need a little more quality time.
Gain Memorial. Sounds like a cemetery or a hospital, not a school.
This institution was named for a great man, whose first name escapes me. He epitomized the great potential within us all, big guy. I hear there's an honorary plaque commemorating him within the lodge. You turned out pretty good, except for that amnesia nonsense.
It's not nonsense.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve. Maybe you need a little straightening out. Oh, the things I could do to you. You'd be a much finer young man with just a little quality time. Boy, I sure miss the old newspaper. The sheriff never did investigate that fire properly. Call it a newspaper man's instinct, though I can't imagine why Sheriff Dwayne would cover up anything. I mean, the only ones who stood to profit from the newspaper going out of business was the owner of the TV station, and Mr. McKnight had an airtight alibi. Still, if not for the fire, I never would have wound up as principal of Gain Memorial. Surely mine is the most important position in Harvest. The ability to mold young minds. That's power. You might think Sheriff Dwayne's the most important man here, big guy. But he only deals with my failures. When I do my job right, the sheriff never sees a thing.
Why do you keep calling me big guy?
A sign of respect, lad. As principal, my station is higher than yours now, but you never know what the future holds, so you should always hedge your bets and pay tribute to your inferiors. You never know who will come to power, or who, even now, wields it behind the scenes. For all I know, you might already be a member of the Order, with access to the lodge. If that were the case, you'd be my superior, and I'd be all that much better off having shown you respect and spent some quality time with you.
What do you mean, quality time?
Some, like Miss Whaley, favor stern discipline, corporal punishment, as a means of socialization. Myself, I temper discipline with love. Quality time can be such a warm, sharing experience. After just a few sessions, you'd stop this amnesia nonsense and become a productive member of society and a fit candidate for the lodge. Big guy, barring some quality time, the greatest gift I can bestow upon you as your former principal is a word of advice. Join the Order of the Harvest Moon at any cost. Within the lodge lies your future, and without dust. Surely mine is the most important position in Harvest. Drop in again soon. Adult education is a wonderful thing, as is adult quality time.
My goodness, class, this is Stephen. He used to be a student here at Gein Memorial. Say hello, class. They're reticent. The educator's gravest problem today is the apathy of the students.
What's wrong with their heads?
I can tell you in one word, Stephen. Discipline. Thank goodness you weren't a sulky bear. You were always a smiley bear.
Then you remember me?
Not as such. So many pupils, Stephen. They come and they go. But I can always spot those who were nice boys. You can tell from the forehead. The lobes. Right, class? I'm glad you stopped by, Stephen. Would you care to say a few words to the class about civic responsibility?
Not really. I was just passing through.
Oh, but you must, Stephen. A positive role model might be just the thing to inspire these little monsters. Stephen, have you any questions for me? Or shall I continue with class? Ask away, then. We don't practice corporal punishment here. I've never believed in that old adage, spare the rod and spoil the child. A rod is too thin, but a baseball bat? That bridges the generation gap quite nicely. Oh dear, Colonel Perot is conducting another air raid drill. Everyone into the hallway, quick!
If an A-bomb hits, what good is it gonna do to duck and cover?
My stars, that was exciting.
This lodge, what do you know about it?
The building itself, like Harvest, was constructed with a specific purpose in mind. That noble intent is known only to those within the Order. You're at about the right age to join them, Stephen, and you will do so if you care about your future.
Can you tell me anything about Harvest?
Harvest was founded by the Order of the Harvest Moon about 100 years ago.
For what purpose?
Why, I'm sure you'd have to ask them. You'll find the members of the Order at the lodge. Stop by any time, Stephen.
Halt! Who goes there?
They tell me my name is Steve.
All right. This is Section 21. Keep your distance, son. I wouldn't want to have to blow your head off.
That makes two of us.
So you're the amnesiac, huh? Just another draft-dodging ploy the way I see it. But at least you're not an alien. You see their ships every now and then. Sometimes Swell bags one in the woods.
Who are you?
Colonel Buster Monroe, commander of the Harvest Nuclear Missile Installation, keeping America safe from those who would dye our flag red, white, and pink.
These are nuclear missiles?
Goddamn right they are. Every one of them ready to rain death on the Ruskies. All I gotta do is hit the button and blammo! The price of vodka goes through the roof. Along with the vodka.
Well, I suppose you have, you know, safeguards against accidents?
Safeguards? Don't be such a weak sister. There are no safeguards. This is the 50s.
Then you have sole control of the, missiles.
That's right. Been in charge here since WW2, when I got my lower torso shot off in the war. Those pantywaists in Washington wanted to stick me behind a desk. To hell with that! They owed me! I left my legs in Dusseldorf. They owed me! Of course, they felt that After the trauma of having to crawl from Germany to England trailing my intestines behind me, I was too emotionally unstable to continue in the military. That's why they gave me this nice cushy job and put me in charge of the nuclear missiles.
Of course, they wouldn't have given you the, button if you were really, say, emotionally unstable?
Of course not. I was given a full exam by my captors in the concentration camp when I was captured during my second penetration behind enemy lines, a year after I lost my lower torso. It was quite thorough.
What did it say?
I don't know. I can't read German. Okay, yeah, you can't get shot in two equal but separate portions without feeling a little down. Who wouldn't? That doesn't mean I'm unbalanced. A little lighter, maybe, but my balance is fine. Still, is it abnormal to harbor doubts late at night when your boots in the corner mock you? Is it sick to want to poke them in their eyelets and rip out their laughing tongues? Then you feel bad, and you invite them under the covers with you, but will they come? Oh no! Spit and polish, trump, a long, long way to Tipperary, especially when you're waddling on your hands. Get some gloves, they say, in their high-pitched little voices, and snicker in the bootlocker, talking to my jockstrap behind my back. They all deserve a good nuclear holocaust. Son, when you've had your body shot in half, you know a thing or two about fear. You learn that when something actually happens, it's never as bad as you imagine it would be. Oh, sure, I can't write my name in the snow. I had to shell out a few simoleons for portable IV drips, colostomy bags, and so on. The pain is hardly what I'd call constant. I have my good days when I pass out completely. We're never asked to endure more than we're capable of handling, mister. Folks would die in a nuclear holocaust, but nobody would die who wasn't going to die anyway, sooner or later. And the rest of us? Why, we'd take a little R&R at the old radiation bunker, climb out in 2 weeks, and go back to work, refreshed and ready to contribute as productive members of society again. Makes me wonder why I don't just push the button and take me a nice vacation. Can you give me any reason why I shouldn't? All right, soldier. You talked me into it. Unfortunately, there's only room in my shelter for one. Oh, who goes there?
They tell me my name is Steve.
All right. This is Section 21. Keep your distance, son. I wouldn't want to have to blow your head off.
That makes two of us.
So you're the amnesiac, huh?
Who are?
Colonel, these... God...
Well, I...
Safe...
That...
That's... Funny thing about it is, you wouldn't think so, but you've got about 3 miles of intestines in your body, all curled up. Now that came in handy as I gauged my progress. While I crawled from Germany to England, my intestines would unravel, such that every 3 miles I'd have to roll them back up and stuff them back in. It became my benchmark, what I lived for. Every time I stuffed my intestines back in, I knew I was 3 miles closer to freedom. In this way, I kept my sanity. That's what I told those idiots in Washington. But did they listen? No. Some weak sister shrink said I was too emotionally unstable to kill Koreans, so they transferred me to this boring stockpile of armed nuclear warheads. And to top it off, those pansy firemen won't let me join the Harvest Volunteer Fire Department. Oh, it makes you wonder. What's the point of going on? I wanted to get back into the thick of the action and out of this desk job, but those firemen are a damn peculiar bunch of ladies. I thought they'd object to my lack of a lower body, but they wouldn't let me join the fire department because they said I couldn't draw naked men. Can't draw naked men? Who the hell wants to? I could draw one if I was a sick commie pervert. Look, I did this last night. What do you think? Thank you, son. You're a good soldier. Halt! Who goes there?
It's just me, Steve.
What do you want? Did the llamas send you? That's good. Someone has to keep them in check. I'm glad you stopped by again. I want you to infiltrate those firemen, mister. There's a lot of art going on over there. I want to make sure they haven't turned into commie bastards. You got that? And don't come back unless you've got information for me. Frankly, all these questions are making me a little suspicious of you. Maybe you're one of those pink-blooded Americans. Can you give me any reason why I shouldn't shoot you right now? Right, huh? Your average commie bastard is always only too ready to hide behind the Constitution. Real Americans waive their rights for the common good. Would you? You talk a good game, mister. But so does your average commie bastard. The Kremlin teaches its agents to talk their way out of a scrape. What do you think about that, son? Glad to hear it, son. You had me going there for a minute, asking all those questions about this base. Came this close to getting blown away. As it is, maybe you ought to get out of here before I change my mind. Go visit those Ponzi firemen. But whatever you do, stay away from that damn lodge. That's the most suspicious place in Harvest, if you ask me. I wanted to get back into the thick of the action. I did this last night. What do you think? You don't say. Then you'd better go reconnoiter the fire station, mister. There's a lot of art going on over there. Determine if commie infiltration has occurred in Harvest, and report back here. Your report could make the difference in what I decide to do.
About what, Colonel?
Never mind that, son. It's easier if you don't know. Harvest is a fine town, steeped in traditional American values. But that lodge, well, it makes me suspicious, don't mind saying it. They've got their fingers into everything around here. Like a certain red commie bastard menace which shall be nameless. That might work out for the best, mister. I think you should join the lodge, infiltrate it, and report back on any red sympathizers. Your report could affect my decision on what I've got to do. Aside from your commie bastard, your alien from another planet is the greatest threat to our democratic way of life. Did you know that 90% of sightings occur within the area of military installations? Hell, I shoot at them whenever I see their ships fly over. But my bullets ping harmlessly off of their hulls. I suspect those things operate out of the lodge, but just try to convince anyone in Harvest of that. I tell you, son, a nuclear holocaust would be preferable to a takeover by big-headed aliens from Pluto. Lucky for us, I'll be making that call when the time comes.
You say before you came to Harvest, your lower torso was shot off in the war?
That's right. I was behind enemy lines. The night was dark. The rain wet. The plastique I was supposed to rig the bridge with precariously sandwiched between my knees as I crawled in the muddy mud. I didn't see the Jerry taking aim at me with his machine gun until half of me was flying through the air. With a quick spray of bullets in a straight line, he'd shot my body clean in two. My lower body landed at that Jerry's feet. I can still hear him laughing as I started crawling in the general direction of England, calling behind me in broken English, "Mein Freund, where is your legs? Looky, what have we here? Some legs? Hey, did anyone lose some legs?" I'll never forget looking back over my shoulder and seeing that crowd doing the can-can with my legs. Still a few weeks later, with only my compass and a pair of nylons, I made it back to safety. Now the Krauts are our friends and the commie bastards are our enemies. But even so, there's at least one crowd out there that I'll never invite over to Sunday dinner. I don't follow. I don't follow. Remember, duck and cover.
Howdy, Steve.
Yeah. Howdy back, Mr.
Pete Swell, Steve. Don't you pull my old leg now. Change your mind about that aluminum siding?
What are you talking about?
I really think you should talk your father into buying some. He can afford it. And I can't stress enough the value of some really fine aluminum siding. Keeps it warm in the summer, cool in the winter, and it keeps out the sheep. Pastorelli ought to look into some, but I can't get him to understand a word I say. Steve, aluminum siding can't get a fair shake no more. Started when those firemen came to harvest, filling people's heads with newfangled notions like color coordination and interior design. You can paint aluminum, you know, if you want to. But even so, I can't seem to move it anymore. Not even to a rube like Pastorelli. Thank God for the plumbing. Well, I seen the end coming for the aluminum siding game, so I took a mail course and learned how to be a plumber. Now, there's a business that never lets up. You'd be surprised what people flush down the toilet. Pastorelli's a rube from way back. Ask Clem Parsons how he followed up with the alarm system in here. I'm a plumber. I could fix it for him, but he just won't listen. Can't understand why Pastorelli keeps that nasty thing in here. Must remind him of the pastures in Italy. Kinda like why I keep wrenches under my pillow, so's I can dream about plumbing. Nice to see you again, Steve.
Hello there, youngster. They say them aliens I was telling you about, well, they came back last night. Cut another crop circle in my south field.
How come I never seen none of them saucers, Clem?
Them aliens is wild, Pete. You don't cross the intergalactic void without learning a trick or two. You know what Pastorelli did? Yesterday, he gets an alarm system to protect his pole. Only he don't know how to rig it, so now it's all awry. Pastorelli's a funny sort. Foreigner, don't you know? He cuts hair pretty good, but he don't know spit about nothing else. You just ask him to hook up an alarm system if you need convincing. Pastorelli shelled out for an alarm system all right, but he's too cheap to hire an electrician to hook her up. Dang it, he cross-wired it to the fire sprinkler, so now when the alarm goes off, it sets the sprinkler spraying. Tarnation! Aliens looking for intelligent life ought to stay away from this shop, sure enough. Why, that barber's pole of his is his pride and joy. Brought it all the way over from Italy, wrapped all special-like. It ain't nothing but colored glass with some bulbs stuck up in it, but he thinks it's the be-all, end-all. Installed that alarm system just to protect it. Though who in tarnation would want to steal a worthless piece of junk like that? I don't know.
Maybe them aliens, Clem.
Oh, Pete, don't be ignorant. Them aliens don't give a fig for no colored glass. You think if they can build spaceships, they can't make a dadgum barber pole? Crazy hick don't know nothing about science. Well, son, the ways of the alien is a specialized area of woodcraft unknown to all but the wiliest sportsmen. What you gotta remember is, your average alien is smarter than your average human. So you gotta be extra careful building your blind if you want to bag one.
You hunt aliens.
Son, after nailing an alien, you can never go back to quail. What, you think you can get one of those at a swap meet? Line your blind with lead to fool their sensing machines. Lay real quiet and wait. Preferably in the woods around the nuclear base. Oh, they love messing around out there.
Why not wait outside your field, Clem? Wait for 'em to come a-carving.
Oh, they do their crop doodles with zap guns, you darn fool. Don't you know nothing? Besides, ain't no place to put the blind out in the field. Now, you listen to Clem Parsons if you want to tag an unearthly being. They cross the void, wondering what lies beyond, all the time not knowing that what awaits them is buckshot. Anytime, Steve.
Yes?
I need some help, Mr.
Postmaster Boyle, what can I do for you today? Sorry, youngster, we're out of applications right now.
Come on, you must have one around here somewhere.
Well, I do have the master, but you can't write on that, and I only make copies once a month, on the button, regular as clockwork. Afraid not, son. You can't get them anywhere but the post office. I'm sorry, you'll just have to come back in a month, same as anyone else. And even then, I can't guarantee you'll get an application. The line is always long, and there are never enough to go around.
It's very important that I get in quickly.
That's what they all say. Postmaster Boyle, I'll just die if I don't get into the lodge. I can't make an exception, young man. It just wouldn't be right. Next time you post, don't forget the zip code. Sorry, son, no time to talk. Neither rain nor sleet nor snow nor hell shall keep the mail from its appointed rounds. What's that you say? Oh, yes, my button. It's been missing for months now. I keep meaning to get another, but, well, the button's very distinctive. I'd have to file an S-411 with Washington to get another, and I just don't need the extra paperwork. Sure wish I could find it. Next time you post, don't forget the zip code. My button. Why, I lost that months ago. Where did you find it?
Funny thing, that. I found it in the ashes. At the newspaper building.
What are you implying? That I had something to do with setting the fire? Preposterous. Why, 100 people must have visited that site since the fire. You just try showing that button to Sheriff Duane, son. He'll laugh you right out of his office. My button.
Funny.
What are you implying? And what if I did? I guess I'd be pretty grateful to anyone who could help get me off the hook.
How?
You seem like a capable lad. Hypothetically, let's say there was a gas can sitting in the evidence room at the sheriff's office. A gas can which might have some incriminating prints on it. Someone might be very grateful for the return of that gas can. Say, grateful enough to provide whoever returned it with a lodge application. Oh, and Steve, you'll keep this to yourself, if you're smart.
Can I help you, dear?
Who are you?
This is Phelps General Store, so who would that make me? Maybe you need to go back to Gein Memorial and have Miss Whaley teach you about logic.
I'm fuzzy on a lot of things these days. My memory's gone.
Pshaw, you always were a kidder, Steve.
I'm serious, I need some help.
Well, they say a sharp blow to the head is a good thing for amnesia. In which case, I'd recommend Miss Whaley again. Then again, they say a good scare can jog the memory. In which case, I'd advise you to visit the Sergeant-at-Arms over at the lodge. That man gives me the willies. Speaking of willies, how's your father?
Don't know. My so-called mother keeps him locked in his room, and I can't get in.
Care to buy anything today? Just point to whatever you want. I'm a little hard of hearing. A girly magazine? Why, Steve, I'm surprised at you. I'd expect that sort of thing from Deputy Loomis, but never from you. He's always coming in here oogling the girly magazines behind my counter. Darned if I'd sell him one, though. I know his wife, for heaven's sakes.
Well, will you sell me one?
I certainly will, Steve. That kind of interest is healthy for a young fellow. Steers him away from being a fireman.
Okay.
Only initiates may enter the Hall of the Order of the Harvest Moon.
Did you say something?
I did not speak, but my mind
telepathy. But how?
Only those who seek enlightenment warrant my attention. Do you hunger for true knowledge? Forbidden knowledge, the forgotten pleasures, and pleasures as yet undiscovered. But such is not for the likes of you. Not yet. You must first fill out an application to be considered for initiation into the mysteries. Members of the Order are privy to many hidden truths.
Such as?
They know what the trees whisper to the wind to make it howl. They know what the worm knows as it squirms in a rotting leg. They know what you've forgotten. When you find the path, truth will be revealed to you. When you possess the truth, you will know what you knew. And if anything remains forgotten, then it was never worth the knowing. Have you obtained an application from the postmaster?
Not yet.
If you would find knowledge, you must seek it from the first realization of the wanting. Whether you do or not matters little to me. Many are called, but few chosen.
Steve, how's your father? Is he better?
About the same, I guess.
He's been away from work for weeks, and when I call your house, your mother won't let me talk to him.
I haven't seen him either.
This is a fine kettle of fish, I must say. Though I am glad to see you taking an interest in the business in your dad's absence.
Who are you?
Aw, Steve, I didn't want to believe that amnesia hokum. Now you're saying you don't remember your pal Pat O'Reilly?
Look, I'm not kidding about the amnesia. Why won't anyone believe me?
Well, you always were such a kidder, Steve.
Funny how that's beginning to sound like a stock answer. Like it was coached.
You sure are acting like a kidder, son. With your dad ill, you're gonna need to start behaving like an adult. Especially if you're gonna take over the family business. What exactly is wrong with your dad?
I don't know.
I wouldn't worry about it too much, Steve. You should be thinking about running the family business one day. That, getting into the lodge. You may come to realize that this business is not for everybody. Just ask your poor, ill dad. It takes dedication and a strong stomach. A lot of times, when I'm finished scrubbing up and digging the bits of intestine out from my fingernails, I must confess I don't have much appetite for red meat. But red meat is one of the principal food groups, and you've got to have it. So when you can do this all day and help yourself to a juicy red steak afterwards, then by golly, you can call yourself a butcher. Of course, amnesia would certainly help that, wouldn't it?
Come to think of it, I don't see any cattle around here. Where do you keep the animals?
Does it matter? The end product is all the customer cares about, Steve. And we only carry the finest meat, only the juiciest cuts. Once you take over the business, you'll realize the importance of maintaining quality while cutting costs. We know what we're doing here, Steve. If we didn't, would the lodge use us to cater their affairs? Your father's very particular about the profit, Steve. No freebies for anyone. But seeing how you're his son, if you'll bring written permission from your father, I'll give you the meat. The Order of the Harvest Moon sponsors a weenie roast on the lodge grounds every summer, which we cater, though they tend to get their meat elsewhere the rest of the year.
I wonder why.
Heck, the best way to find out is to sign up with them. They're a great organization, Steve. They do wonderful work, just like us butchers. They do what needs to be done and expect nothing in return.
Then how do they support themselves? Membership dues?
From what I hear, the work is its own reward. There are certain tricks to the trade, Steve. Once your dad gets better and you start working in here cutting up the meat, you'll be privy to them. There's always cheaper, better ways to do things, if you're creative.
What's with all the cats? This a slaughterhouse or a kennel?
Oh, them? They eat the scraps, that's all.
Yeah, but look at them. Isn't there some kind of health department that keeps tabs on these things?
Are you going to work at the health department, Steve? Or here? Maybe I get sick of do-gooder busybodies sucking around here all the time. A man's up to his elbows in guts all day, every day. What more do they want from him? Don't be such a stranger, Steve, and my best to your dad.
Oh, by George. Oh, by Jiminy. Oh, this here's the real thing. Oh, can I have it? Oh, think it over, okay? You gotta give me it, kiddo. Please. Got me some towels that need folding, something terrible. Oh, thank you, Steve. Excuse me, kiddo. I gotta go check the jail for clean towels.
Hello, Steve. Where's Loomis?
You'll be coming around the mountain if you come. Oh, that's it.
Loomis, damn you!
Wait, no.
You pervert!
No!
Straining up the mattress again! Folding up the towels! Charming snake!
No!
Sheriff Dwayne? Blackmailing Postmaster Boyle? This is absurd.
Absurd, but true. And don't ask how I got this evidence.
But what could Boyle have possibly done to inspire blackmail? Boyle? What makes you think so?
I found a postal worker's button in the ashes of the Sentinel building. It belongs to Boyle. Sheriff Dwayne found a gas can at the scene of the crime and locked it away in the evidence room. Boyle admitted that it belonged to him.
That's not conclusive proof. Have you got anything else?
No, not really.
Then we don't really have a case, Steve. This crime may never be solved. But thank you for your efforts. Sheriff Dwayne? Blackmailing Postmaster Boyle?
Absurd, but
what could... I suppose that all we can do is expose the sheriff as the criminal that he is and allow the chips to fall where they may. You're a good scout, big guy. Well done.
Oh, now, sport, this is really interesting. Boyle's done something wrong, otherwise the sheriff wouldn't be blackmailing him. But what? God, I'd love to nail him to the wall.
yeah, and don't forget about the sheriff. Dwayne is a blackmailer after all.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I decided not to run with this story.
What? But this is all the evidence you need for your newscast. Evidence of a blackmail situation, canceled checks, a ledger.
Sorry, sport. No can do. As a matter of fact, I think I may have to shoot the sheriff a private little newscast about this. I know. It may cause you some problems, but hey, let's do lunch, okay? My treat.
My God, where did you get this?
Never mind that. It's authentic. Sheriff Dwayne owns part of WHAR.
That son of a bitch. No wonder he didn't solve the Sentinel case. The filthy arsonist that burnt down the newspaper building did him a favor. That son of a bitch, and if that wasn't enough, he blackmailed Boyle to squeeze more profit out of the deal. Well, he's not going to get away with it. I'm going to expose this whole stinking mess to all of Harvest. The guilty will pay, and all because of you, Steve. You have my gratitude. Drop in again soon. Seeing you here again, one would think you'd never graduated. Nostalgia is a waste of time, big guy. You need to move forward, and if you ask me, the lodge lies firmly in that direction. Drop in again soon. Adult education is a wonderful thing, as is adult quality time.
What does this mean? This is unexpected and awkward. But my luck's been bad ever since Dwayne found that darn gas can at the newspaper building the day after the fire. He has this insane notion that it's mine. I pay him not because I'm guilty, but because I don't want him slurring my good name around Harvest.
Oh, naturally.
You know, he keeps that gas can in the evidence room at his office. I'd be really grateful to whoever could fetch me that can. Grateful enough to provide him with a lodge application. Oh, and Steve, you'll keep this to yourself, if you're smart. That interests me not at all, young man. What does this mean? That's an interesting item, but the fact that you ask me that question proves you know nothing. You do that, Steve. Not knowing what we're guilty of, how much trouble can you cause? Except for yourself. Sorry, son, no time to talk. I hear you've been spreading all sorts of gossip about me around town. You've shut your mouth off about Sheriff Dwayne blackmailing me. Not a smart thing to do, given that Dwayne carries a gun. Anyone who can't keep a secret has no business joining the lodge, my friend. Forget about getting an application now. It's too late for that. Hear the wheat rustle in the wind. The scythe nears. Can the fall be far behind? Next time you post, don't forget the zip code. Oh my God, I can't believe it. After all this time.
Where's my application, Boyle?
Here, take it. With my thanks. You know, this morning as I was making my rounds, I noticed an awful lot of television aerials on the roofs. Seems like more and more each day. You got me this can just in time, youngster. I may have need of it again.
What do you mean?
There's another reason why Sheriff Dwayne didn't investigate the Sentinel fire. If you'd like to get something else on the blackmailing bastard, check around the television station. While you still can.
Well, look at this. Fresh from the safe down at WHAR. I guess you killed McKnight to get this, huh? Okay, let's play it your way for now. You're probably thinking this is evidence of my negligence. My failure to properly investigate the newspaper fire. Maybe even complicity, since the newspaper and the TV station were rivals. Well, I'm glad to hear it. In that case, you'll return my property, right? Yeah, it is. I tell you what, you bring me the original, and I'll give you one of my special get-out-of-jail-free cards. That can come in handy, especially if you're up to no good, or are going to be up to no good in the near future.
I turn over the original, and you'll let me go if you catch me perpetrating a crime?
Do we have a deal? Good. Bring me the original, and we'll wrap this up. Brought back the original ownership papers, eh?
Don't get excited. I made copies as insurance. Now, I believe you said something about a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Fair enough. You're a piece of work, Steve. Mind if I ask you a question? Killing McKnight, how did it feel? Did you look into his eyes when he crossed over? I love doing that. I've seen it all. But in the end, it's always you looking into nothing. A nothing you put there. Son, you might ought to think about a career in law enforcement. After you get into the lodge, of course.
That's a ticket.
I see you've managed to acquire an application that demonstrates resourcefulness, a desirable trait for prospective members. You need a rest. Report back here for your next assignment.
Welcome to our order.
The hand that grips the life you stab. Stephanie.
What do you want, Steve? That's right, I think I got the flu.
Maybe you'd feel better if you stopped watching television and went to bed.
Maybe you'd be quiet with a steak knife in your heart.
What?
Just leave me alone, Steve. Believe me, you got your own problems. Good. Finally. Big whoop, Steve.